I've always been a creative person. I mean, I remember, as a child being enjoying music and fantasy and all those things that you really can't put a name on when you're pre-speech, and loving to play and pretend and all of those things. And yet when it came to moving forward with that and performing in front of people, that was not necessarily what I wanted to do. So I enjoy the process of being in the arts and being artistic and performing my craft, but the idea of performing in front of people, and then beyond that, being in the business and promoting and all of that business, does sometimes make me realize that I'm a little bit reluctant about that. Not totally, or I wouldn't be doing it at all, but somewhat reluctant compared to other people who like that part the best. Just want to stand in one, and they love that. And I'm not putting it down. I'm just, people are different.
How and why? This is what we do. We do with heart, with passion, and sometimes it becomes what it is, and it's great. But trying to know exactly why, I think it's very difficult, but I think you will never know.
Yeah.
And then at the same time, it's so difficult, because I think if you start to trying to understand, you're going to try to replicate that.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. It's never going to work that way.
You have to just keep looking for new magic.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's coming from what the passion, I think it's more.
No, put it right. Most actors have a good ear. As musicians have a good ear. At a certain level, all our learning is from childhood on is mimetic, and it seems to me that we actors, and you're born, you can't be made, you're born. You can of course polish and do all things, learn how to talk and move, and how to relax, but it's a kind of something happens in the neurons, something spins around. We're on a different level of the mimetic art. We understand the mimetic art. We understand what we're all about, the way we've learned. We're born with it, but it's also what we all have, which is we all mimic a kind of spark that pops from one neuron to another in an actor. And we can do it. We know.
A lot of those guys don't know shit about acting. They don't, and they don't have to. I mean, know shit about the process, and nor do I, because as far as I'm concerned, there's no uniformity to acting.
Yeah.
Everybody's different. Every film, every play. I'm a firm believer that we always gloss over this idea that you have to. Part of your job is to make the appropriate process for the appropriate role, because your function is different. And the degree of collaboration is always different. I'm really struck that we don't talk about this more.
Right.
That there's no such thing as acting. There's no such thing as one thing.
Right.
You notice certain things that you kind of return to and feel comfortable with, or you find fertile. But I think you got to constantly abandon that. So I get nervous when a director thinks he knows about acting. No, I do. I prefer some guy say, okay, then you just do this, and I don't, kind of not care how you get there. I can address impulses that I could never even imagine.
Right.
It's like, it's the same thing with mask work,
Yeah.
It's not your face.
Right.
It's not your face.
Right.
So you can really go deep and say, I'm not me, I'm someone else. It's very clear. You don't look like yourself, you don't feel like yourself, you're not going to be yourself.
Yeah.
An actor I like to disappear, because you don't have to pay off anything. You can just do the stuff, and then stuff happens, and that's what we're here for. It's all the stuff that you feel like you have to pay off or deal with that, to me, are like the restrictions, and a lot of those have to do with who we think we are, or what we think we have to do.
I think that's important.
It's the thing about abandon. Everyone. You got to have a sense of yourself, but at the same time, you got to free yourself from, all the things that you think have to be. I've got to do this because this is who I am, every time you say, I am this or I am that, you're taking on another thing. I am this, or I'm the kind of guy that does this, or I'm the kind of guy that does this, or I really don't like this, or I love this, or I'm really good at this, or I'm not so good at that. That starts to weigh you down, and pretty soon someone says, walk from here to here, and you're like, well, I can, but I'm the kind of guy that, No, I mean, so you want to be free of that. You want to say, I'm not that guy that walked in this door. I get frustrated with certain limitations you may sometimes feel, or you may feel like, sometimes you just feel flat. Yeah. You don't know how to, up the engagement, to find the discovery and make it, mean something, make it personal, and make it burn rather than just be kind of serviceable. But then also there's the argument, if you're always, struggling to make a certain thing happen, nothing will happen. So I think if you get stuck, the biggest problem is to get unstuck by sometimes making another problem or opening up another front in the war to figure out where the hell you are.
Usually with the rest of us, it's you're on the wing and a prayer.
Right.
But the thing about this profession, because there's so much deprivation, you always want to figure out what to do in order to work. So a lot of people copy everyone else's hairstyle. They copy everyone else's body. All the women out there trying to lose weight. Maybe they get plastic surgery, who knows? But very few people sort of relish in exactly who they are. I don't know how to be anyone else. And yes, was I liberated from everything that makes you or defines you as feminine? Yes, for the Woman King. But I've been liberated by everything that defined me as being anything. I feel like I define me. Totally. I don't want any limits on me, my sexuality, my sexiness in terms of my sexuality, my voice, what I can and can't do at what age. I refuse to limit myself. I think that's where progressiveness comes in. That person who's willing to step out on faith and do what it is that they're called to do. When you set out on the path to become something, so you think, okay, I'm going to become a famous actress. So that's the goal, that's the vision. All right. And then you hit it. And then you realize that's just not it. There is a disillusionment that happens. There's an emptiness that happens. And to be perfectly honest, there's an isolation and a loneliness that happens.
And that happened to you?
Oh, totally. Because here's the thing. Whatever goal you set in life is just the cosmic carrot to what life is supposed to be about. The cosmic carrot is the goal, but really, truly, it's the journey and who you're becoming. It's a quote that I've been using, which is, your purpose in life is not what you do. It's what happens to people when you do what you do. That's it. And it's who you are that's more important than what you do. That was my big, it's all we have is curiosity. All we have is curiosity to wake up every single day with, I don't know, you walk into any situation and you have anxiety, to just say, what's that? Where's that coming from? Or do you just live with it? Do you say that, you know what, I want to live a transcendent life. I don't want to roll into my grave being just a sort of mere, the crappy version of myself. That's what curiosity does. It keeps you growing, and it doesn't mean that it's perfect growth, but it does mean that you're curious enough to know who you are. You know what I miss about myself at that time? I'm just thinking about this. That I knew that I knew that I knew that I was good. I think that as you go along, the imposter syndrome can take over more. And that's because you're exposed to the world. And no one could tell you the sort of hyper biblical level of confidence you need when you're at that level of your profession. You know, you almost have to have an arrogant level of confidence, which I do not have. But at that point, I knew I was good. I knew I was going to get in. I just did. And there's something about that I miss. I could take a sliver of that now. When I say confident too, is you always want to be better. Okay? You do. I'm contradicting myself a little bit, what I'm about to say. I'm not mad at the imposter syndrome. I think it's underrated, actually. Okay? But at the time, I didn't even have imposter syndrome. I just knew that I was great. I did. Now that the world has gotten to me, it's like, oh, I could have been better. Oh, you know, this. Oh, you know, yeah, I got the EGOT, but, you know, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. Now, Viola herself, which is different than Viola Younger now. This is not the work. This is just me. Way more self-love.
At Juilliard, what was the objective of their training? Were they shaping you into a good actress or a perfect white actress?
Definitely a perfect white actress.
And what does that look like?
What it looks like, it's technical training in order to deal with the classics, in order to deal with the Strindbergs and the O'Neills and the Chekhovs and the Shakespeare. I totally understand that. To get your voice, everything. But what it denies is the human being behind all of that. I feel that as a black actress, I'm always being tasked to show that I have range by doing white work. So if I can master, I don't know, Blanche Dubois and Tennessee Williams, you know, Streetcar Named Desire. Listen, I could do the best I can with Tennessee Williams, but he writes for fragile white women. Beautiful work, but it's not me. Or do a fabulous job playing, I don't know, Hermione in Winter's Tale and Shakespeare. But we don't put those same parameters on white actors. You know, you can have a white actress who's 54, 55 years old, which is a great age to play Mama in Raising the Sun. Is she going to be able to pull off Mama in Raising the Sun? Is she going to be able to pull off Beneatha? Is she going to be able to pull off Molly in Joe Turner's Come and Gone when Molly says, I ain't going south, and make me believe it? They don't have to do that. So for those 4 years at Juilliard, all the white actor has to do is play all white characters. That's not me. Me, I'm tasked to only do the classics. And no black writer is included in those classics. And then once I leave Juilliard, guess what? Most of what I will be asked to do are black characters, which people will not feel that I am black enough. So then I'm caught in a quagmire, this sort of in-between place of sort of not understanding how to use myself as the canvas. Juilliard was an out-of-body experience because once again, I did not think that I could use me. Me needed to be left at the front door, even though me was what got me in there. One of the things that I always do is, first of all, they say in acting, you have to be an observer and a thief. The observing part comes from life, and the thief probably comes from looking at other actors' work. But the observing, I always have to think of something in my life. What happens for me is when I get a character, the reason why I write is the more I write, I think I can unlock something. What's their favorite color? What's their first memory? Now, if it's written within an inch of its life, a lot of times it's already in there. I only had 8 minutes, so I had to make up something. And then I ask people questions, of course, because what I need to find out is what is the driving need in their life. What do they live for? Do they want to be loved? Do they want to have control? That's my theater training. I've done plays for over a year, again and again and again. I've done 4-hour plays. I've done one-woman shows. I have over a 40-year career. So he could have done it 50 times and I would have been able to do it over and over again.
And you were unflappable in that.
I was pretty unflappable.
Mm.
You know what? I'm an actor who stays in my lane.
What does that mean?
I'm not trying to be like anyone else. I remember every time I would do a really great performance, I would feel so jazzed and so happy, and then go home. And Viola didn't feel like anything if she wasn't working. If she wasn't on stage doing a monologue that made everybody cry and stand up and throw flowers, then she was worthless. And as soon as I stepped off the stage, it was like unplugging a phone, and the phone losing its charge. The rest of my life looked like a wasteland. And I've realized once again is the reason why I wanted to be a great actress is because I just wanted to be somebody. But that ain't it. It's just not it. And I think, Joseph Campbell talks about slaying dragons and going out there and with mentors and allies, and then you finally get to that inmost cave where you come face to face, not with God, but with yourself.
Mm.
And what I realize is I was always worthy. I didn't have to do anything for that. It's not the power chord anymore. It's just not.
So what is?
I'm the power chord. I am. Every single day when I wake up and put my feet on the floor, my job is to not betray myself.
Mm.
Acting is just one aspect of who I am. And every single time I betray myself, that's it. It's like I've unplugged myself once again. It's what gives my life meaning, which, by the way, what gives my life meaning is my story.
Mm.
Completely embracing it. I'm worthy.